So good morning. It is a little bit of an off-piste video today. It is Saturday morning, which means it's my late shift at work, and that normally means weird layering video. But as you can tell, I'm not in my room at the minute. I'm nearly at the end of my run, and yeah, the weather has been awful, but it's not been quite as rainy as I thought. So I wasn't planning to do a video, but I'm going to go into one. I'm going to do today 5 reasons for and 5 reasons against leather in fragrances. 5 pros, 5 cons of why I think it's a good and also at sometimes a bad fragrance. And I want you to let me know at the end which side of the fence you sit on. So I'm not going to waste too much time before my phone gets soaked. Let's go into the first pro. Okay, so the first pro of leather in fragrances, why I think it's a good note. To me, it's kind of a symbol of luxury, sophistication and elegance. When you think of leather, like a leather jacket, they could be expensive, leather car seats, leather wallets, all these things. Anything that's made with like real leather kind of gives you that feeling of money, expense, class. And that's what I think fragrances are really for here. When you get leather, look, you can get some cheap leather fragrances. There's no two ways about it though. Cheap leather fragrances can be a little bit skanky. When you get a high quality leather scent, whether that's an Active Palmer leather, a Tom Ford leather, they smell expensive and good, and it makes you smell like money essentially. And I think that's a pro. You want to smell like a well put together person, and leather is definitely one of those sophisticated high quality notes that gives you that feeling. Now of course the contradiction and the con to that classy sophistication is it does smell a little bit old and a little bit more dated as a note compared to some of the others. When you look at modern fragrances, people who are younger, they're wearing more blue fragrances from Broxton, but ultimately sweeter notes as well, whether that's vanilla, caramel, a bit of tonka. Leather is not that. Leather is definitely more stereotypically associated with, first of all, a man and an older gentleman, and that's not what a lot of people particularly think they're looking for when they're buying fragrances. And I think that's why a lot of people don't feel comfortable wearing it. Let's be honest, we said leather jacket and all those sort of things. How often are younger people, or people in general, walking around with leather clothing, you know, highly expensive leather cars, all these things? They're not really. So sometimes it's a bit of a contradiction to what you're wearing and maybe who you are as a person, because of those almost negative connotations that it is old and a little bit too serious for many people. So that's the kind of, yeah, opposite effect to that pro. Oh, that wind, that storm, it is so strong. It's behind me for a brief second now, but I'll talk a bit louder. The second pro is ultimately its performance. Now some people, and we'll obviously go on to the con of that in a minute, may not like that, but let's talk about why it is good. How often do you have fragrances you like that you go, I absolutely love this scent DNA, but it just doesn't last? That gives a partner around City Capri, a lovely orange-based fragrance. It doesn't last much longer than an hour. People won't notice it, and it's such a shame because the quality is so high on that, and you just want it to have that bit of extra bite. And whatever leather fragrances I've had, whether it's been a cheaper one, I had a dark, it was called Dark Leather by Molten Brown, which was around that mid-30s range, which for leather fragrances is quite cheap. You know, if you think of Tom Ford, you're paying over £100 normally. Even the Active Palmer leather, when it was around, you're going to be paying above those sort of prices, definitely over £100 normally, because the high brands charge it. But they've always lasted well. Again, Dark Leather was a spicy fragrance, but it wasn't too heavy, and it was certainly office safe. But that would last, you know, 5 to 6 hours easily on your clothing, and it would project 4 to 5 hours. Everyone around you would notice it. So again, if you're saying a £35 to £40 fragrance that lasts pretty much all day, you'd say, oh, that's good, you know, particularly if you like that scent DNA. And if you are a fan of leather, that's got to be a huge positive. It is one of the stronger notes that you do get in fragrances, and I love strong fragrances. I love beast mode fragrances, and leather kind of is the definition of beast mode. Now here's the contradiction, of course. If it's a strong fragrance and a strong note that you don't like, it can be a problem. I always say one of my least favourite fragrances was Aramis Havana. It had this kind of urine note in combination with this smokiness, and I just was really struggling to know when to wear it to get through it. And ultimately, when you've got, and as we touched upon earlier, leather's quite a high-end fragrance note. When you've got this fragrance sitting in your cupboard that you don't like, you never get through it. You have it 5, 6, 7 years. You spray it on clothing, or you might try and give it to someone else, swap it with someone else, or as I said, it ultimately just never gets used, and you just don't know what to do with it. And it does have, look, for all the positives I've just said about its performance, and all the positives about it smelling like luxury. It can be a bit skanky, a bit animalic, a bit in your face. Some people have said you can smell like a rubber shoe. Burning tyres I've heard with leather before, bonfire smells. And yeah, it can also just have that feeling of like a car garage almost. You know, I think it's your Fahrenheit, which kind of has that leather and ozonic combination. It's just kind of, yeah, phased out of what younger people in particular are used to. Older people can still rock it and maybe just feel like it brings a bit of nostalgia, but you can't change your opinion. If it's something you don't like, then yeah, it's very hard with this note to change your opinion. Let's talk about the third pro then, and kind of follow on from that con, changing opinion. Can you change your opinion with leather? 100%, and the main reason I'm going to say that, my next pro, is it actually, and this is probably an underrated thing that people don't consider, it mixes very well with other notes in perfumery. When you think of like a Tom Ford Fabulous, or a Noir Extreme even, I believe that might have a bit of leather, but Tom Ford Fabulous definitely does. And it's got a vanilla leather combination. And it's a bit of like a bad boy night out scent. And it's kind of modernised what you can have in leather. Obviously leather's become a lot more synthetic in its composition just for safety reasons as much as anything. And that leather vanilla combination is lovely. When you think of Tom Ford ombre leather, that's got fruity nuances. The mix with that leather note, which is absolutely lovely. It's a really well-rounded, great entry. I mean, I say entry level. For me, it's just the smoothest leather note if you don't want anything too strong. Obviously, leather goes really well with smoky notes, spicy notes, as we touched upon earlier with the Molten Brown scent I had. I've got strawberry fragrances, Zara Red Rodeo, that has leather in as well. And ultimately, it just makes for a really nice, all-rounded scent that you can mix. So don't just think leather has to be its scent on its own. You get the right fragrance, it may be the most dominant, but you can get certain combinations that make it more wearable, and that's definitely becoming more of a thing in modern perfumery. Well, apologies for the wind at the end there, but we're going to follow on from that pro as we've been doing so far. So we just said that it does mix well with maybe more sweeter notes like vanilla in modern fragrances and fruity notes, but despite all of this and making it more wearable, it still lacks versatility. Leather as a note in perfumery, it still is more suited to those nighttime winter occasions. It's more of a serious dress-up type of fragrance, which means if you're looking for an everyday scent, just a casual, maybe meeting up with friends or just going to the gym, doing errands, dumb reach, it's not really what you want. You certainly wouldn't throw this one in your bag and get you through the day if you're not you're not a brave, bold personality, for example, like myself. It's bold, it's strong. And even fruity notes and vanillic notes, to me, they still lean more to those winter nighttime wear, maybe summer nighttime wear occasions on a cooler evening, just because they can be too cloying, certainly on a hot day. So yeah, for me, I think one of the main cons of leather is it's very hard to know when to use it and find the right situation to use it. And ultimately that means if you do have a 100ml bottle, you just never really get through it. And you still, sometimes, even myself, when it's winter time, do I still reach for those more boozy, sweeter vanillic fragrances over leather, which is the situation to wear it? Yes, I do, and I think that makes it a bit of a con for most people. Wow, look how blurry I am getting now. I'm very blurry, my phone is getting wet. So let's go quickly on to point number 4, the fourth pro. Uniqueness. I've said this before, sometimes you'll look at a note breakdown and you'll see notes like lavender, bergamot, neroli, you know, and sometimes if you've got all of those notes in a fragrance, lemon, if you put them all together, sometimes the smell can be quite generic and you go, I don't really know which note I'm detecting, unless you've got a really trained nose for these things. Sometimes a lemon and bergamot combination, working in harmony almost as an accord, can kind of smell the same when it comes out in the wash. The one thing you can't say with leather is it doesn't smell like anything else. You know the smell of leather. Leather is a very, very unique note. You notice it as we said before, if you buy like a leather purse, a leather wallet, a pair of leather boots or whatever, you'll instantly, when you open the box, go, oh, that smells of leather. And that's what it's like in perfumery. You just go instantly, I can smell leather in this. Sometimes in those more lighter top notes, more summery notes, it can be really hard to pick out certain notes in perfumery. I love neroli, and I always detect neroli, but mainly detect neroli when there's not many other notes in the fragrance, because it's not overly strong on its own. So yeah, that's what I'd say. If you like a bit of uniqueness and you like to detect a particular note, leather's up there with the best. It's a very detectable note, like vanilla is. Vanilla's very easy to detect. Leather's exactly the same. and now I'm getting splashed by puddles with all the cars going by me. But we're going to go on to the fourth con now, and it's basically a question for you. Is uniqueness, which I've just said is a big pro, is that what people really want? Let's be honest. Dior Sauvage, everyone's wearing it. Look, the Chanel, maybe some older gentlemen who have got sick of Sauvage are wearing that. The blue fragrance revolution, the caramel vanillic revolution that's going on at the minute. Everyone wants to smell like a certain genre of scent. And unfortunately that means people aren't as unique anymore. People want what is the trend, what is the popular thing. I want that because everyone's got it, whether that's a phone, a haircut, a pair of shoes. And it's the same with fragrances. So uniqueness may not be good for certain type of people, and that would make it a big negative for leather. Now, if you are a fan of leather, there is a final positive I want to give you, because I feel like the negatives have been stronger in this so far. But I think leather is here to stay. As I said earlier, there was an article which I'll try and find here that says that trends are showing that leather fragrances are still around. And I look at some of the popular ones, ombre leather, Tuscan leather, high-end brands, the most successful fragrance companies are still using it, are still utilising it. And I think it's one of those notes that's here to stay. Again, we talk about retro fragrances, or I do a lot on my channel, and there's been notes like carnation over the years that you just don't see in modern fragrances anymore. But leather, the trends still look good. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get leather fragrances anymore, I'm going to have to fork out even more to get discontinued scents of the ones I enjoy, I don't think you need to worry at the moment. It's a very recognisable note, as I said, not just in perfumery, but just in everyday items and products. And that's why I don't think it'll go as far or quickly as other people think. It's still associated with luxury, and that's why top brands still use it. Wow, that breeze, right, the last con. And that is ultimately how it's being utilised. If you are that fan of leather now, are you that person that really wants it to be that synthetic leather that seems to be used more and more in perfumery? As I said, Zara have recently brought out a lot of vibrant leather lines which have leather notes in. But if you know Zara Vibrant Leather, for example, it's not a leather fragrance, it's not. And the one thing I'm noticing is they're almost forgetting, and this is the con I'm saying, leather fragrances are becoming more misleading. You're seeing the word leather in fragrance like bottle names, but it's kind of like it's got barely any leather in. It's like the most unrecognisable, undetectable note in the whole perfume. I say this as well, I've had this beetroot juice recently. You look on the back of the ingredients, it's 75% apple juice, it's 5% beetroot. But because the beetroot juice is so dark, and when you see the bottle from a distance, you go, oh, that must be mainly beetroot juice. It's not, it's just a stronger dye, obviously, because beetroot is just a darker colour. But actually the composition of that beetroot juice is very small, it's very, very small. You see that with matcha powders as well in food products. It's like 0.2% matcha, and they call it matcha tea. Not really, is it? And that's what I'm feeling with leather now. There's a lot of misleading. So if you wanted to try this new leather fragrance, I'd say check the fragrance notes first and check the reviews on Fragrantica as well, just to get an idea of, if you're someone who likes those dominant leather sort of notes in perfumery, is it actually that, or is it just marketing it to make it sound more luxurious? We are back on the home treadmill just to do a quick conclusion signing off video. Hopefully you heard me on that one. Apologies if you didn't. I hope I could speak clearly. And I hope I got my points across of why I think leather can be good, it can also be bad, and that's kind of where I sit on it. It's Marmite for me. Some people love it, some people hate it. It depends what day of the week it is, depends what time of the year, depends what mood I'm in. You know, am I taking it on a vacation with me? No, because it's not calming, it's not relaxing. Would I wear it if I want to feel really sophisticated, serious, maybe a networking event? Yeah, I probably would. I probably would, even for an interview, because it shows that you really care and you made an effort, and it complements those kind of smarter attires really, really well. But is it one I reach for over like a vanillic fragrance in those winter times? No, it's not. But I do think leather has a place in perfumery. That is the main thing I'd say. I still think it's so unique. It's got such a identifiable smell. Love it or hate it, you've got to respect it. And I certainly do respect it. And I'll always probably have a leather fragrance in my collection. Even if it's not number one, it stands out, it's got character, it's got body, and it does its own thing. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'll probably sit more on the for than against side. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know some leather fragrances you've had as well. And I look forward to maybe trying some of those over the next few years. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.